Welcome. In this two-part series, I'm going to go ahead and create this mobile responsive header and this mobile drop-down menu using Bubble's Flexbox Layout, which is currently in beta, but very soon that will be the default layout management system in Bubble. Now let's go create this from scratch. All right, so let's start by making a new app. Let's name this Moose YouTube Final. And this should be a building block. And external, customer facing. Let's not use any template. No details necessary here. And build a tool, okay? All right, we're gonna start with a blank. Let's get started. This is the name is fine. Okay. We don't need any plugins, nor do we need any API connectors. So go to the last step, close, and here we are. Let's get the show grid. Great. All right, so now we have our starting page or index. First thing we have to do is we're going to go ahead and upgrade it to the Flexbox responsive layout system, the new one. So now that I have my page built, now I double click on this. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and change it, the layout. Just begin with, we're going to have a column layout because everything is going to be stacked on top of each other. And here we're going to go ahead and the width, I'm going to say 1280. And the bottom one, let's just say 800, right? So now we have our column layout. We have upgraded to responsive Flexbox and we have our size, but we're not going to do anything here. We're going to use this as a template to start up a new page. And this is how I do it. Because that way we always have a starting point, so that if we mess up in the future, we can always come back and clone this and get started. And same thing you'll see will repeat later on. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and create a new page, and this one will be Flexbox. Let's just say Flexbox page, and we're cloning it, the index, create. All right, so now we can do anything we want. Anything goes wrong, we fall back and clone the index page again, so that way we don't have to repeat all of that over and over. All right, so let's go ahead and bring in a group, and this group is going to be our header. And this will expand from the left end to the right end, right? This is going to be not really our content. This is going to be the top header bar, right? So what we're going to do, we will give it once again a column layout, because other things are going to come on top of it. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, go to the appearance, remove the base style, and give it a flat background color, and choose the color to be slightly red. And we'll be doing this over and over as we add group after group, because this way we can maintain and track down which group is on top of each other, right? And parent child backtracking, etc., right? You'll see how handy this is. So, and also another thing to remember, that we always need to name them. This will be very helpful for the future. So this will be our header main. All right, so this is our header main, basically header main container. Now we will go back to layout and make it infinite size so that it fills the whole page, and a minimum of a 320 because that's the minimum mobile size we're going to support. And at this point, 250 minimum height, we're going to keep it because more content's coming in. All right, so now that we have our bar, let's preview it just to see what's happening. All right, so this is exactly what we wanted, our main header end to end, but our content is not going to be end to end. Our content is going to be somewhere in the middle, let's say about 1200 pixels, right? So what we do, we bring in another group. This one, first thing we do, name it. This will be our nav bar, navigation bar on the header. And this, we immediately remove the style and have a flat background color. And let's go with something greenish. All right, there you go. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and this one should have a row layout because this is where we're going to have our navigation items side by side, the logo, etc., right? So this should have the row and it should also expand end to end. And here we're going to use a minimum width of 0. We're going to still maintain the height. Let's say let's reduce it by few pixels. Let's give it a 220. Only reason I'm doing that because that way you can always see the parent. I mean, it is very important to, while you're building it, to have a visible way to tell what child going under, inside what parent, etc., and easily clickable so that you can always, navigate between them. Even though, let's say when I'm here, if I right click, we can always go back to the parent, choosing select first parent, right? Boom, it's gonna go there. But then when you keep piling them on, lots of them, it kind of becomes hard if you don't have a visual way to interact with them. So, for now, while we're building, we're going to keep maintaining different colors, different sizes, right? And we'll fix all of them later. All right, that being said, now this guy should have a max width, which is 1200. And that's going to give us our content width. And we're going to center it. So now if we preview, now we see how our header navigation bar will look like. I mean, width-wise, right? This will have end-to-end, but this guy will be limited to 1200. And while we have this, what we should do, go back and click here and duplicate it. I just did a Control-C, Control-V. You could do anything you like, copy and paste, etc., right? So I did that because now that I have a content width and my base width, so this is I'm gonna use this as my page content or body holder, right? So at this point I can just minimize it because I have a way to interact with it, using this part. So let's just minimize the height here to 0. And I mean, I'm especially doing this because on the content we're not going to do too much work. So and this is also a row, but content we're gonna actually have a column and just gonna bring a text. I'm gonna go with one of the defaults, H1 dark, and give it a home page content, right? And we're gonna go to the layout, give it the full width and minimize. The min width is 0 and this also going to be 0. And this is just a placeholder so that we can tell the difference. And now I'm going to remove the base style so that I can take over and make it centered. And that being said, this also can go, we can go there because we will have a handle here. So we're going to go ahead and give it also a min height of 0 so that they get together. And this one now, since this is a content, let's make it a different color so that we can tell the difference. Now here we can also go to layout, and the top, let's just add 30 pixels. Now let's preview. All right, to make it look better, let's just go with a height of, let's just assume 400, something like that, right? So let's do a min height of, let's do a 600, right? Okay, now let's preview again. Okay, so now it's kind of sort of structure is created. I mean, even though this header will shrink down, but now we can tell this is our full page, and this is going to be our content block, and this is going to be our header block where our responsive navigation will show up. All right, so now that we're here, let's do an inspection on this. Let's go to the Google responsive view and see what happens to our content boxes. They start to shrink. All right, sometimes if you just refresh and if it fills up, then you know this is the Google DevTools issue, right? And by the way I went to this one is just went to inspect, and that's what it gave me. Just by clicking here, you can go back to normal, and clicking here, you can come back to responsive view. Even though we have here, we can go to responsive view, and just by moving our mouse here, we can do that. But I actually prefer this better because this is how everybody else is gonna see. So I kind of like it this way, right? So here we go, we have our content and a responsive structure is being built. Now let's go focus on the header. Okay, so now we have our nav bar. Now let's bring in our logo. And as you know, we already have a row, so anything we add here is gonna go side by side. So first, let's bring in our logo image, drop it here, and let's go bring a logo picture, and this should be our logo image. It is now here, and let's do a roundness of 100. Right, and come here and let's give it a 100 pixel width. I'm going to keep it a fixed width, and we're going to keep it a fixed aspect ratio. There you go, we have a nice little round thing going, and let's center it. So now, as you can see, if we just now reduce this height, it's going to look like a nice bar, but we're not going to do that yet because we're gonna go ahead and bring in some other stuff. But before we finish with the logo, let's just add a little 10 pixel on top, 10 bottom, 10 at the bottom, 10 left, and 10 right, so that it never touches the border, right? All right, so now that we have our logo, let's bring in our actual navigation bar, right? This is the whole bar, and navigation should be another group. Let's drop the guy here. First thing we do, we name it nav, just nav, because that's where our navigation will reside. And first thing we do, as always, first change the layout to row, because this will also hold stuff side by side, and remove the styling, give it a flat color, and this time let's choose something distinctive, light orange, right? So all these containers, the page, content, all those we can now see very clearly and visibly. Now that being said, this we should give it a infinite space so that it fills up the entire rest of the content block, or the menu bar, nav bar, sorry. Since we're gonna have this guy all filled in from the right side, basically what I'm saying is we're gonna add stuff to it. Everything should be aligned to the right. So we first do this, and now let's bring in an image. We'll use this as a user profile. Let's bring in our user image, and here is our user. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and give it a roundness of 100, and we're going to maintain a fixed width, but this time we're going to go with 70 pixels, and maintain the aspect ratio. There you go, nice little image there. And as you can see, it's touching the border. So what we do on the right side, we're going to give it like a 10 pixel so that it doesn't, and a little from the top, let's say 10 pixel, also left and bottom. There you go. So we're going to now go ahead and center this guy. All right, that's our user profile. Now let's bring in, oh yes, never forget user. It already says image, so user, that's fine. Okay, user image. Now let's bring in a button. This will be our logout button. Let's name it log out. And I'm going to maintain these fixed widths 150 and main height 45. That's just fine. And one thing I'm going to add to it, the roundness. Let's remove the defaults, and roundness here is 5. We're going to upgrade it to 10. It looks a little bit better. And now you can see this image should be on the right side and this should be on the left, right? So what we do, first of all, let's go and center it, and then you have this options here, make it first. Boom, now they swap places and we have our stuff good to go. And at this point we're going to go ahead and preview. There you go, nice. Let's see what's happening. There you go, beautiful. Okay, so the next is the menu. Okay, so now let's bring in a group here, drop it right there, and this should also be on the left side. So first thing we do, make it first, go ahead and remove the style, give it a flat color and something distinctive. There you go. Actually a little bit lighter would be better. Yes, that's great. Okay, and now we go and change the layout to row, because this is where our menu links are going to stay side by side, and we're going to make it a infinite width so it covers up, fills up the rest of this, container. And let's call this the menu. Okay, and here also we're gonna bring in stuff from the right side, so let's align to the right, And now we're going to start bringing in links. Let's drop one. Let's call it home. And let's go with the default style of, okay, let's forget that. Let's make it bold. Let's give it a size of 18 and center it. And we're going to keep them at a 100 pixel width and keep them fixed. This can go to 0. Perfect, right? And now let's center that. And here you just highlight that and do a Control C, Control V three more times. And now we have our menu items. And this one we're going to change to about. This one should be services, and this one should be contact. There you go. And this last one is seems like it's pretty close to here, so we're gonna go ahead and go to layout, and let's say 30 pixels of right margin, just like that, right? And let's preview. All right, at this point, let's take care of some of these heights. Let's say this guy, we used to have 250. Let's make it 0 and make it centered. And this guy here, let's make also 0, just so that it looks kind of real, right? Make it also centered. And this guy, if we just now go to 0, there you go. It's kind of sort of looking like the header we were going for. Once again, let's do a preview. There we have it. Now the thing is, let's see what it does when we try to shrink it. See, now it's breaking and doing all sorts of stuff, right? It's kind of uncontrollable, right? So the plan is, at this point, we're going to calculate how far we can push it. Let's say up to here, right before it breaks. Let's say 790, or maybe even a little behind. Let's just say 800. As soon as we reach 800, we should have a different menu bar and a mobile menu will be in place. So far we have our base structure, which is responsive, and now we will push it to the next step. Let's do it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please smash the like button and the subscribe button. This will help me bring more free contents like this to you every week. Thanks again.